Princess Aelira of the Celestial Realm stood on the highest balcony of her palace, staring at the stars. The night sky stretched endlessly, glittering with countless lights, but even their beauty could not calm the worry in her heart. Her people were restless. The Celestials had lived in peace for thousands of years, untouched by mortal affairs. But humanity was different. Their reach was growing, their curiosity unbound, and their courage unmatched. Soon, if nothing was done, they could sweep across the stars and claim what the Celestials had protected for millennia. Aelira's advisors had warned her of the looming threat. "Princess," said Elder Theros, his silver beard glimmering in the starlight, "humans are not to be underestimated. They are unpredictable. Unpredictable. They grow stronger with every challenge, and their numbers are vast." Aelira nodded, though her heart ached with unease. "I understand, Elder. But war would destroy everything. I cannot allow our people to suffer. We must find another way." It was then that the council suggested a solution both shocking and controversial: a marriage alliance with a human. Not just any human, but Kael, a diplomat known for his intelligence, bravery, and remarkable influence among his people. By marrying him, Aelira's realm could form a bond with humanity, securing peace without bloodshed. The idea was strange to Aelira. She had been raised to believe humans were fragile, limited, and often short-sighted. But Kael was different. Reports described him as calm in chaos, clever in strategy, and possessed of a strange aura that commanded respect. Even the Celestials' enemies hesitated before confronting him. Still, the thought of marriage to a mortal filled her with both curiosity and anxiety. Aelira had spent her life among beings who could shape reality with a thought, yet she was about to join her fate with someone who lived and breathed like the very earth below them. The preparations began immediately. The palace transformed into a floating city of light and crystal for the wedding. Celestial banners glimmered with colors no human eye could normally see, and the great halls echoed with music that resonated through the air and the stars themselves. Gods, immortals, and celestials of all ranks came to witness the union. When Kael arrived, he seemed ordinary at first glance. He walked with quiet confidence, his eyes steady and clear. There was no shimmer of celestial power around him, no aura of dominance. Yet, as he spoke with the Celestial Council, his calm voice carried a weight that made even the eldest Celestials pause. He asked questions they had never considered, offered solutions with ease, and smiled with a warmth that put even the nervous courtiers at ease. Aelira watched him from a distance. She expected fear or arrogance from a human who stood before gods and princesses, but Kael displayed neither. There was something in his presence, subtle yet undeniable, that made her heart quicken. It was not fear, nor challenge, but a kind of certainty. He seemed unshakable, unafraid of anything, even the immortals around him. The wedding ceremony itself was held on a platform floating among the stars. Below them, the vastness of space shimmered with distant galaxies. Aelira's hands trembled slightly as she took Kael's in hers. "Are you ready?" she asked quietly, her voice carrying both doubt and hope. Kael smiled gently. "I am ready," he said. "Not just for this, but for everything that comes after." The words were simple, but Aelira felt their weight. She realized that he meant more than marriage. He meant partnership, courage, and understanding. The priest, an ancient being older than any human history, began the ceremonial chant. Light and energy swirled around them, sealing their bond. As their hands touched, the very stars seemed to hum in response. After the ceremony, the celebrations began. Music filled the halls, laughter echoed through corridors, and the scent of rare celestial flowers drifted through the air. Aelira danced beside Kael, and though she tried to keep her emotions in check, she could not help noticing how naturally he moved among her people. He listened attentively to their stories, asked respectful questions, and even made small, clever jokes that drew laughter from beings who had rarely smiled so freely. Yet, amidst the joy, Alira could sense the unease of some celestials. Elder Tharos approached her quietly, his eyes studying Kael with concern. "Princess," he whispered. "He is human. Even the cleverest human cannot wield power like we do. Yet, I feel something. Something I cannot name. Watch him closely. Humans like him. They are rare." Alira frowned. "Rare in what way?" she asked. Tharos shook his head. "I do not know. They survive when others fall. They create when nothing exists. And they endure. Always endure. Remember this, princess. For it may become more important than we imagine." As the night continued, Alira found herself walking beside Kael on a balcony overlooking the stars. The festivities were distant behind them, leaving only silence and the gentle hum of the cosmos. "Do you ever fear what comes next?" she asked, her voice soft. Kael looked out at the stars. "Fear is natural," he said, "but I believe in action. Fear is useful only if it teaches us to move wisely." Alira felt a strange warmth at his words. She had expected arrogance, maybe even indifference, but there was none of that. Instead, Kael carried a calm that was rooted in strength, not dominance. She realized then that she had not only married for peace, but for a partnership that could face anything together. The first part of their union ended with a quiet understanding. The celestial realm had secured temporary peace, but the universe was full of unknown dangers. Kael, ordinary to some, extraordinary to others, had entered a world that did not fully understand him. And Princess Alira, once skeptical of mortals, began to see that the human beside her might be the key not only to peace, but to a future she could barely imagine. As she looked at him under the starlight, she wondered quietly, what was it about humans that even the gods feared? The answer, she suspected, would reveal itself soon enough. The morning after the wedding, Princess Alira woke to a quiet palace. The celebrations had ended, leaving only the soft hum of energy flowing through the floating city. She expected Kael to still be asleep. Yet when she walked to the balcony, she found him standing there, gazing at the horizon where stars met the endless void. "Good morning," she said softly. Kael turned and smiled, a calm warmth in his eyes. "Good morning. I was thinking about yesterday. All of it. It was extraordinary." Alira felt a small flutter in her chest. "You were barely affected by the ceremony. Were you not nervous?" Kael shook his head. "Nervous? Perhaps. But I trust in understanding, not appearances. There is no reason for fear when you see clearly what must be done." Alira tilted her head. There was something about him. Something beyond human, yet human all the same. He seemed to carry confidence without arrogance, power without domination. It unsettled her in a way she did not fully understand. The days that followed were filled with adjustments. Alira introduced Kael to her world. Floating cities, energy streams, beings who could bend reality at will. Yet Kael did not recoil or marvel like most humans might. Instead, he observed carefully, asked questions, and learned. In every interaction, he displayed patience and curiosity. One morning, a minor crisis erupted. A sudden energy storm swept through the city, disrupting the flow of light and power. Many Celestials panicked, their control faltering as energy arcs threatened the delicate structures of the palace. Alira froze, unsure of what to do. Her people looked to her, expecting guidance, and in that moment, Kael stepped forward. "Step back," he said calmly. He gestured with his hands, and though he had no magic of his own, he began directing the Celestials in a coordinated response. He told them how to stabilize the energy channels, which flows to merge first, and how to protect the most vulnerable structures. Alira watched in awe. The Celestials followed him not out of fear, but because his instructions were clear, logical, and precise. Slowly, the storm subsided, leaving the city unharmed. Afterward, some Celestials whispered among themselves. "Who is this human?" they said. "He commands our trust, without any display of power." How? Alira felt a mixture of pride and surprise. She approached Kale. "You handled that perfectly. How did you know what to do?" "One." Alira felt a via. One. Kale shrugged. "I observe, I think, and I act. That is all. The solution was always there. We just needed to find it." It was not just his intellect that impressed her, but his calm courage. Where others might panic in the presence of overwhelming power, Kale acted. It was a quality Alira had rarely seen, even among her own kind. Over the following weeks, Alira noticed subtle changes in how the celestial realm regarded him. Gods and immortals, who had once treated humans as fragile, now looked at Kale with cautious respect. Some whispered warnings, some offered advice, and others simply observed him in silence, unsure what to make of a mortal who moved through their world with ease. Kale's influence was not about domination, it was about understanding. He listened to disputes between the Celestials and resolved them with patience and insight. He found clever solutions to problems that had baffled scholars for decades. Slowly, even Princess Alira began to realize that humanity possessed qualities her people had long ignored. Resilience, ingenuity, and a deep, unyielding determination. One evening, they walked together along the outer terraces of the palace, overlooking the endless void of space. Alira spoke softly. "I admit, I expected humans to be fragile, ordinary, limited, but you are neither." "Why?" Kale smiled faintly. "Humans survive because we adapt. We create because we must. And we endure because there is no other choice. We may be small, but we carry potential. And potential can be more powerful than raw strength." Alira considered his words carefully. She had seen gods fall, realms collapse, and yet here was a human, not a warrior, not a celestial standing among them with courage and wisdom. She realized slowly, almost with fear, that the very things the Celestials thought of as limitations were, in truth, their greatest strengths. Their quiet conversation was interrupted by a message from the High Council. A distant human colony, on the edge of the galaxy, had sent a plea for assistance. Pirates had attacked their settlement, and without help, they faced destruction. The council debated sending celestial forces, but Kale's calm voice cut through the chatter. "Let us first understand the problem," he said. "We can plan a solution that avoids unnecessary risk." Following Kale's guidance, the Celestials organized a mission. But it was Kale who directed the operation. His strategies considered not just raw force, but intelligence, morale, and timing. When the team arrived, what could have been a bloody battle was resolved with precision and minimal conflict. The pirates were disarmed and captured, the colony protected, and the Celestials marveled at the efficiency of human problem-solving. Alira felt both pride and unease. Humans were capable of extraordinary things, but she also realized that their unpredictability made them difficult to control. Kale did not rely on fear, magic, or authority. He relied on courage, reasoning, and creativity, the very traits that made humans formidable. That night, as they returned to the palace, Alira watched Kale from the balcony. "I see now why my elders warned me," she said quietly. "Humans like you, even the gods seem cautious around you. I understand why now." Kale glanced at her, smiling. "Fear is natural, but respect is earned. Perhaps the gods are learning both. Alira nodded, feeling a shift within herself. She had married Kale to secure peace, yet in the process, she had discovered something else entirely. Humanity's potential was not something to be measured by power alone. It was something far deeper: resilience, ingenuity, and an unbreakable spirit. And as she watched the stars shimmer above, she realized that her world had only begun to understand the human touch. Weeks passed in the celestial realm, and peace seemed to settle once more. Yet Alira knew it was fragile. Humans were growing in influence, and Kale's presence was changing the balance of power. Even gods whispered among themselves, some in admiration, others in unease. One day, the alarm bells of the floating city rang out. A violent surge of cosmic energy rippled through the stars. A rogue god, long jealous of humanity's rising power, had decided to strike. He descended upon Kale's home colony, a settlement on a distant star, intending to demonstrate the fragility of humans and punish their audacity. Alira felt a chill run through her. She had seen gods destroy entire worlds in anger. Yet Kale did not flinch. Instead, he studied the readings, his face calm. "We need to act quickly," he said, "but not with raw force. That would only escalate the situation." The Celestials were shocked. "You wish to confront a god? Without power?" asked Elder Theros, his voice tight with concern. "That is impossible." Kael shook his head. "Power alone is not enough. Strategy, timing, and understanding can be stronger than raw strength. Watch." Alira followed him to the observation deck. From there, they could see the god approaching. His form was vast, shimmering with cosmic energy, eyes blazing with fury. Mortals would have fled in terror. But Kael stepped forward, with only his calm determination. He began directing the Celestials with precision. "We need barriers here, shields there. But more importantly, we need to understand him. Every action has a pattern, even among gods." The Celestials obeyed, though some did so hesitantly. Kael observed the rogue god, noticing every movement, every ripple of energy. Then, he acted. He did not attack, he did not plead. Instead, Kael created a sequence of maneuvers that used the god's own energy against him. Celestial forces moved as Kael instructed, subtly redirecting energy flows, creating pressure points, and guiding the god's attacks into harmless paths. Alira could hardly believe her eyes. The god's immense power crashed against invisible walls, controlled not by magic but by Kael's planning. The Celestials were stunned. Even the elder gods, watching from afar, whispered in disbelief. "Impossible," one muttered. "A human? Containing a god's attack?" Kael noticed the rogue god faltering, his fury growing into confusion. "He expects resistance, not understanding," Kael said softly. "That is why he is hesitant. Even gods misjudge humans." The rogue god roared, his voice shaking stars, yet he could not break through Kael's strategy. Step by step, Kael guided the celestial forces, anticipating the god's reactions, countering with clever timing, and using ingenuity where raw power failed. Slowly, the god's attacks weakened, his movements uncertain. Alira watched, her heart pounding. She realized something profound. Kael's strength was not in force, but in mind and spirit. He could face beings of unimaginable power and emerge unscathed. Not because he was stronger, but because he was unpredictable, clever, and unwavering. Finally, the god paused. His fury burned. But he was trapped in a web of strategy he could not untangle. Kael stepped forward. "This conflict need not continue," he said. "You seek to teach fear. But humans, like all life, endure. That is our nature." Violence is not the answer, wisdom is. For a moment, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The rogue god studied Kale, his glowing eyes narrowing. Then, slowly, he withdrew. Not defeated, but cautious, uncertain, and wary of this human who had faced him without fear or power. The city erupted in quiet relief. The Celestials looked at Kale in awe. Even Aelira felt a mix of pride and astonishment. She had married him for peace, and now she understood why. Kale was more than clever, he was extraordinary, a being whose courage and ingenuity could challenge even the gods. That evening, Aelira found Kale alone, standing on the balcony overlooking the void. "You were remarkable today," she said softly. Even we, could hardly comprehend what you did." Kale smiled, but it was a thoughtful, serious smile. "I did not do it alone. The Celestials acted as I suggested. But it is true that humans see possibilities where others see limits. That is why we endure. And sometimes, why even gods hesitate." Aelira's chest swelled with a strange emotion. Pride, yes, but also awe. She had always believed her people to be supreme. Yet Kale's actions revealed a truth she could not ignore. Humans possessed qualities beyond brute power: resilience, creativity, and courage that even gods feared. The following days were filled with quiet reflection. Kale did not boast, did not demand recognition. He continued to assist the Celestials, finding ways to strengthen their cities, improve their energy systems, and teach lessons in strategy and adaptability. Whispers spread among the divine ranks. "The human, he is dangerous in ways we cannot measure," said one elder. "Not because of magic, but because of his mind." Aelira heard these whispers and felt a mix of satisfaction and concern. She had secured peace through marriage, but she realized that humans like Kale could shift the balance of the universe itself. Their unpredictability, ingenuity, and endurance made them formidable, even to the oldest and most powerful beings. One night, as she stood beside Kale, she asked, "Do you ever fear what might happen if your people, if humans, grow too strong?" Kale looked at her, his eyes steady. "Fear is not useful unless it teaches caution. Humans grow because we must, not because we seek dominance. But yes, we are capable of much. That is why wisdom is necessary." Aelira nodded, understanding fully for the first time the weight of what she had married into. Peace was no longer just a political arrangement, it was a living, breathing testament to the strength and potential of humanity. The first true test was over. But Aelira knew it was only the beginning. The universe was vast, filled with threats both known and hidden. And Kale, the human she had married for peace, had shown her why even gods feared his kind. For Aelira, the revelation was both inspiring and frightening. Humanity was no longer merely a species to protect or control. They were a force of creativity, resilience, and courage that could change the cosmos itself. And Kale was the proof. That night, as they looked out over the stars, Aelira felt a quiet certainty. With humans like Kale, their future, though uncertain, was brighter than any she had ever imagined. The weeks following the rogue god's retreat were quiet, but the calm was deceptive. Aelira noticed subtle changes in her people. Celestials who had once doubted Kale now watched him with a mixture of respect and unease. Whispers filled the halls. Humans were clever, resilient, and unpredictable, and Kale was a living proof of their potential. One evening, as Aelira and Kale walked along the palace terraces overlooking the shimmering void, she asked the question that had been on her mind since the battle. "Kale, tell me," she began carefully, "why are humans, like you, ordinary in appearance, yet able to face even gods with such calm courage?" Kale looked at her, his gaze thoughtful. He did not answer immediately. Instead, he gestured toward the stars. Humans carry something that no magic or cosmic power can erase, he said quietly. It is not strength in the way you know it, nor is it knowledge. It is potential. The ability to endure, to create, to adapt, and to inspire. Alira frowned. Potential? That sounds vague. Kale shook his head gently. Not necessarily in raw power, but in ways that cannot always be measured. Humans survive when others fail, find solutions when nothing seems possible, and endure hardships that would break others. We carry the spark of possibility, and that spark can be dangerous to those who underestimate it. Alira felt a shiver run through her. She had suspected as much, but hearing KL say it aloud made her realize the truth. The human she had married was not just clever or brave, he represented a potential that even the gods feared. Over the next few days, Kale took Alira to the archives of his family's history, a private collection that few Celestials had ever seen. Ancient records, stories, and artifacts told a tale of humans surviving impossible odds. Civilizations rose and fell, yet humans endured. They created tools, strategies, and innovations that turned the tide of wars and disasters. Every record spoke of resilience, ingenuity, and courage, qualities that no god could force or replicate. These are not myths, Kale said, touching a carefully preserved artifact. Every story, every lesson, shows that humans are capable of adapting to any challenge. That is why even gods hesitate when we rise. They sense potential, not brute strength, and potential can grow beyond control. Alira studied him, her mind racing. She had seen Kale act against the rogue god with calm strategy, yet she now understood that this was only the beginning. Humans were more than clever, they were unpredictable, adaptive, and enduring. Does that mean humans could threaten gods? She asked cautiously. Kyle smiled faintly. Not all humans, not all at once. But some carry the spark in a way that shifts balance. And that spark is not something to fear, only to respect. Fear arises when potential is underestimated, when beings expect limits where there are none. The revelation weighed heavily on Alira. She realized that her marriage had not only secured peace, it had brought a being into her world whose presence could redefine it. Kale was not a weapon, nor a ruler. He was a symbol of the hidden strength of humanity, a reminder that the ordinary could become extraordinary when circumstances demanded it. That night, the palace was quiet, but the sense of change was tangible. Celestials moved differently around Kale, showing subtle deference. Even the gods who visited from distant realms were cautious, measuring his presence carefully. Alira realized that humans had always been underestimated, and Kale's life was proof of why such underestimation could be dangerous. The following morning, Kale led Alira to the edge of the city, where energy streams from the heart of the realm flowed outward into the universe. He paused, watching the currents twist and turn. Your people are powerful, Kale said. But even power has limits. Humans, we find ways where limits exist. We bend rules, see connections others miss, and endure when all seems lost. That is why your elders are cautious. That is why some gods hesitate. Alira considered his words carefully. The more she learned, the more she realized the truth. Humans were not fragile or ordinary. They were a force. Subtle, but immense. Capable of changing the course of the universe not with domination, but with resilience, ingenuity, and unyielding spirit. As the days passed, Alira observed Kale closely. He continued to teach and guide, not only the Celestials but herself. He showed her how to think differently, to anticipate outcomes, and to respect the unpredictable nature of life. She began to see how the spark of humanity could influence the cosmos in ways even the most powerful beings could not anticipate. One afternoon, Elder Theros approached her, his expression serious. Princess, he said quietly. You married for peace. Yes. But understand this. Humans like Kale, they are rare. Most mortals lack such vision and resilience. But when one rises, it shifts everything. Even the gods take notice. Alira nodded. I see that now. Kyle is not just clever or brave. He carries something beyond our understanding, a potential that even we must respect. Tharos placed a hand on her shoulder. And that is why you must protect him, guide him, and trust him. The future may depend on it. That night, Alira and Kael walked together under the stars, silence stretching comfortably between them. She spoke softly. I understand now why the gods fear your kind. It is not strength, not magic, not even numbers. It is something deeper, something that cannot be controlled. Kael nodded, his eyes reflecting the starlight. Potential, resilience, courage, that is humanity. We are unpredictable because we endure, create, and adapt. And when necessary, we rise to meet any challenge. Alira felt a quiet awe. She had married for peace, but in doing so, she had discovered a force she could barely comprehend. Humans like Kael were not ordinary, they were extraordinary in ways even the gods could not measure. As she looked at him under the cosmic light, she realized the truth. Peace was only the beginning. Humanity's hidden legacy, embodied in Kael, would shape the future of the universe. And she, as his partner, had the privilege and the responsibility of witnessing it unfold. The stars seemed to shine brighter that night, as if the universe itself acknowledged the potential of humans. And Alira knew, without a doubt, that Kael was only the beginning of something far greater. Months passed since the rogue gods' failed attack, and the celestial realm had begun to feel the true impact of Kael's presence. What had started as a political marriage for peace had become something far greater. A transformation of thought, strategy, and understanding within the realm itself. Even the gods, once skeptical and proud, now observed Kael with cautious respect. Word spread quietly among the stars. Humans were clever, resilient, and capable of things that even immortal beings could not predict. Kael had become a symbol not of domination, but of potential, endurance, and ingenuity. Alira watched him every day, still astonished at the calm authority he carried. It was not magic that set him apart, nor size, nor strength. It was the human spirit, the ability to adapt, to create, and to face impossible challenges without fear. One morning, the High Council summoned Alira and Kael to discuss a potential threat on the far edge of the galaxy. A massive cosmic storm was approaching a settlement of humans, and celestial forces had failed to find a way to divert it. Perhaps we should evacuate them, suggested one elder cautiously. No force can stop such a storm. Kael shook his head. Evacuation is a last resort. Let us first understand the storm. There is always a way to reduce its impact without panicking or surrendering. Alira smiled quietly. She had learned to trust Kael's judgment completely. While Celestials debated fearfully, he calmly analyzed the energy flows of the storm, its patterns, and the response of the planetary shields. With his guidance, the Celestials reorganized their energy channels, creating safe passages and protective zones. When the storm arrived, it was fierce, swirling with destructive energy. Yet under Kael's direction, the human settlement survived, untouched. The Celestials and even some minor gods who observed from afar were astonished. Humans had endured what even immortals considered impossible. Later, as the skies cleared, Alira turned to Kael. Every day, I see why even the gods are cautious around you. It is not power, they have plenty of that, but it is your mind, your calm, and your spirit. Kael smiled faintly. Potential is stronger than power in the long run. It cannot be forced, but it can endure. That is why humans matter. The news of Kale's guidance spread across realms. Where once humans were underestimated, now even the most distant gods hesitated before interfering with them. Whispers filled the void. The human who had faced a rogue god and controlled a cosmic storm could not be dismissed. Some admired him. Some feared the spark he carried, the spark of human potential. Aelira realized the full significance of what she had married into. Kale was more than a partner in diplomacy. He was a living testament to the strength of humanity. Through him, her people began to see humans not as fragile mortals, but as equals in intellect, strategy, and endurance. One evening, the two of them walked among the glowing energy streams of the city. Aelira's eyes were thoughtful as she spoke. I have lived among gods all my life, yet I feel that humans, your kind, are unlike anything I have ever known. Even the most powerful beings hesitate around you. Why? Semper one. When quote. One quote. One quote. Kale looked out at the streams, his face calm. Humans are unpredictable because we endure, we create, and we inspire. We do not rely on sheer force, but on the spark within us that grows when challenged. That is why even gods respect or fear us. We are capable of things no one can measure, and that is something the universe notices. Aelira felt a mixture of awe and reassurance. She realized that the marriage for peace had achieved far more than she imagined. The celestial realm had learned humility and respect. Humanity had gained a powerful ally, and the balance of the universe had shifted quietly, imperceptibly, toward understanding rather than domination. Over the following months, Kale continued to teach and guide. He worked with the Celestials to strengthen their cities, improve energy flow systems, and resolve disputes with intelligence rather than force. He encouraged collaboration between mortals and immortals, showing that even the most unlikely alliances could bring safety and prosperity. The gods, once proud and distant, now approached Kale with caution and curiosity. They offered advice, studied his strategies, and sometimes even deferred to his judgment. Aelira watched these interactions with a mix of pride and fascination. Her human husband had done what few thought possible. He had earned respect from beings older and more powerful than any human could dream of. One night, as they stood on a terrace overlooking the galaxy, Aelira spoke softly. Kale, you have changed everything. The Celestials, the gods, even me. I see now why humans are more than what they seem. You are extraordinary. Kale looked at her with quiet humility. I am only one of many. Humanity's strength is in all of us, in our ability to endure, adapt, and rise when needed. I am lucky to have your guidance, your trust, and your partnership. Together, we can show that even in a vast universe, understanding and courage matter more than domination. Aelira felt her heart swell. She had married for peace, but she had gained so much more. Kale had shown her the true power of humanity, the courage to face impossibilities, the intelligence to solve challenges, and the spirit to inspire respect even from gods. As the stars shimmered above, the celestial realm itself seemed to acknowledge the shift. Where once mortals were dismissed, now humans were regarded with reverence. Their potential was undeniable, and Kale was the living proof. The following day, Aelira addressed the council. We have learned that humans are not merely creatures to observe or control, she said. They carry a spark that cannot be measured, a resilience that cannot be broken. We must respect it, nurture it, and work with it. Kale has shown us the way. The council murmured in agreement. Even the elder gods, present through magical projections, nodded in cautious approval. The marriage that had begun as a political necessity had become a turning point for the universe. Aelira turned to Kale, taking his hand. You have brought more than peace. You have brought understanding, courage, and a new respect for humanity. I am proud to stand beside you. Kale smiled, his hand firm around hers. And I am honored to stand with you, Alira. Together, we can show the universe that humans are capable of greatness, not through fear or force, but through endurance, ingenuity, and spirit. That night, as they looked out over the stars, the galaxy seemed brighter, alive with possibility. The celestial realm, once distant and aloof, had learned to respect the spark of humanity. The gods, proud and eternal, now recognized the potential that could not be ignored. Alira knew, in her heart, that this was only the beginning. Humanity's journey had only just begun, and with Kale as their guide, they could shape a future that even the oldest gods would watch, with awe and perhaps a touch of fear. The dawn of a new era had begun. One where humans were no longer underestimated. They were respected, admired, and yes, even feared for the potential that lay within them. And Kale, the human who had married for peace, had shown the universe exactly why.